Welcome back to the Fierce Fish First Tech Challenge Programming Tutorials series. Our goal in this series is to provide simple and straightforward guidance in programming an FTC robot. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about color sensors. So now let's get started. I've initialized the drivetrain just like I did in the distance sensor video, except this time I actually initialized the rev blink and LED driver because I forgot to in the last video, and I hope this will help in using LEDs with the color sensor. And again, I have the drive forward method that we're going to pair the color sensor with, but it's not specifically for drive forward necessarily. And you'll see that as we go forward. But of course, let's declare our hardware. So this is just going to be color sensor. And then it's going to be, I'm going to call mine colors. Okay, it's just the class name color sensor and your variable name colors. So now let's go and initialize that. And again, it has to be done like a typical sensor. It can't be done like a motor. So let's go colors equals hardware map dot get, and this is color sensor dot class, and then the string colors. All right, so let's review that. We have the variable name here that you want to use in the code, the hardware map dot get, your color sensor class, and then the configuration name colors, which is my configuration name. All right, so now there are multiple ways we can get a reading from a color sensor. There's red, green, blue, and there's alpha, and then there's a combined value. I do not suggest using the combined value, but I'll show it to you anyways. So there are different ways we can get the reading on a color sensor now. So let's look at ours, colors, and this is how you get the reading, dot, and then it would be, let's say we're starting with red. It would just be like that. That's how we get the reading. So like if we wanted to set that reading to a variable, we could do the red val. And of course, you'd have to declare it at the top of your code. I didn't declare it at the top of my code. But there's red, there's blue, there is green, there's alpha. Alpha, just so you know, is intensity. And it's like light. So this also goes hand in hand with light sensors. If you're using a light sensor, you'd use dot alpha. And then it's for the combined value, it's ARGB, which I do not suggest using. And if you decide to use it, you will quickly see why I suggest not using it. But let's just go off of the alpha. All right, and that's how you would do that. So let's get rid of that, and let's create our while loop. Let's say we wanted to drive forward at half power for 100 ticks at the current angle, and then we're going to want to stop for a second so that we can get the color sensor reading. Now let's just say you had to distinguish the difference between a blue and a yellow block in this game that I just made up. So let's say we just drove up to the yellow block and we want to be able to tell if it's a yellow block or a blue block. Well, if you're using a color sensor, of course, we know a yellow block is going to be much brighter to a color sensor than a blue block. So here we can just use a condition statement. We can go like if colors dot alpha, because we can tell, we obviously know the yellow block's brighter than the blue block. If that is greater than, and we got to know our threshold. So let's say the threshold's 1,000. If it's greater than 1,000, then it's a yellow. And then in here, we're going to do yellow block activities and whatever you're supposed to do with the yellow block. So let's just say we're going to like intake it or pick it up with a servo or drive forward to get it or whatever. That's all of this would go inside of this if loop. And then let's just say we're telling the difference between only two of them. One's blue, one's yellow, so that we can make it simple on ourselves. Then we can go else, and then we would do blue block activities. So that if we drive up and it is a yellow block, if it meets this requirement, we're going to do this in here. But if it does not meet the requirement, then we're going to do that in there. Makes sense? So basically, this doesn't affect our method in here whatsoever. This, however, does affect what your robot decides to do. And you gotta this pause here is crucial, because if you take a reading while you're on the move, it could be a wrong reading. Because if you think about it, when you're on like the move and you turn your head one way, let's say you turn your head to the right and walk forward, and you keep focusing at the right, like it's not as effective as just stopping and looking at something. I don't know if that made any sense, but there you go. Without that, it's no good. So what can we do with this and the blinking LEDs? Well, when you're making your decisions here, so you know what loop it enters, because maybe your moves will be somewhat similar, so you know just by looking at the robot color what loop it enters, we can go like, I called it lights, I think, dot set pattern, and then let's say if it's yellow, we're going to set it to yellow. And then in here, if it's a blue block, we're going to set it to blue. We're going to set it to blue. So just little things like that the LED lights can help with. And this is just the basic use of a color sensor. I don't think there's a need that you'd be using it for any more, and that's basically it for today's video. So we learned how to use a color sensor in a conditional statement as well as pair the lights with it. And I think that's going to be it for this video. So from all of us here at Fierce Fish, we hope you have a great day.